All right, welcome in everybody. This is Jordan with Ravens Flash Report, and I know you're as ready as I am to move on from last week and that horrible excuse of a game against the Steelers, but we're ready to get into London's matchup with the Tennessee Titans on Sunday, October 15th at 9:30 a.m. And as always, I'll be giving you guys my players to watch for both the Titans and the Ravens today, as well as my keys to victory and a reason to stay hopeful for the next few weeks, despite some of these early season setbacks. All right, let's get into it.
They're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that. I'm a Raven. It's on. All year. Every year.
So I'm actually going to switch things up today and start with the Ravens that I want you guys to be paying attention to in this game first. And our first Raven that we're going to watch is going to be Odell Beckham Jr. So I want to see if he can give us some real game impact, because basically up to this point, I really haven't seen anything worth 15 or 18 million. I know he's already had some injury issues, and that's kind of my point. Bateman has been out too and hasn't shown much yet this season, but he's still on a rookie contract, so we aren't paying him an arm and a leg to get nothing in return. I don't need to see OBJ take over a game, though I really wouldn't mind. I don't think any of us would. I just want to see a solid contribution. I want to see some third down or some red zone plays where he shows up for us. You know, we saw in preseason that he made some amazing catches and some great plays on our good cornerbacks. I want to see that in the real game. I know the offense is getting into its groove, and some say, it's going to take some time, but we as a team need to be firing on all cylinders starting now, and we need to continue to build that momentum through the rest of the season. And OBJ has got to be part of that. All right. The next players of the Ravens that you should be taking notice of is going to be an offensive position group on the offensive line. We need both the left and the right tackle positions to be stepping up big time in this game. Now, I'm not going to say that the pass rushers for the Titans aren't any good, but most of their sacks come from the interior, and they don't have a Myles Garrett or a J.J. Watt. Few teams do. That being said, if we're going to win games that we're supposed to win and make it to the end of the season competitive, we need to protect Lamar better than we have been. Since the Bengals game in Week 2, Lamar has been sacked 11 times. And I don't care what anybody says about that pick in the end zone last week. Lamar has been throwing the ball better this season than any I can remember. He's hitting all of his marks. He's hitting guys in stride. He's making anticipation throws. He's making smart decisions with the football most of the time. If you want that type of production out of him to continue, we need to keep him upright, and that starts with the right and left tackle currently. On the defensive side of things, be on the lookout for Marlon Humphrey. So he came back last week, but he doesn't seem like he's really up to speed yet with the rest of the defense, and that was definitely put on display, unfortunately, with the touchdown catch by Pickens. Marlon's been back at practice for a week, so I would have liked to see him have some help over the top on that play, but it is what it is. I don't know the scheme, I don't know the play call, but it just seems like he really shouldn't have been left on an island in that play. I'm also confused as to why we haven't seen more of Rock Ya-Sin. He literally had 0 snaps against the Steelers while Marlon had 37. So I'm not really sure if it's a mental thing with him or a physical still getting over injury type of thing, but Marlon's already back. I'm not sure what that is, but something to keep an eye on. And with the Titans, I'm sure DeAndre Hopkins will have some opportunities to challenge Marlon. I just hope it goes better than it did for him last week. And the last Raven that I have up here is sort of a 2-for-1 because it's the usage between Geno Smith and Marcus Williams at the safety position. Last week was Marcus's first week back after going down in the first half of the Texans game, and he looked off. Some have said that he looked limited in his range of motion, while others have noted that it seems like he had a timidness or lack of physicality that we're used to seeing him bring to that position. I said in last week's preview that I would rather have both Marcus and Marlon wait as long as they need for them to be back fully healthy, and it doesn't look like that's the case. Marcus played 63 defensive snaps, or 95%, while Geno Smith played only 20 defensive snaps, which is around 30%. We need Kyle Hamilton out there for sure, but Mike McDonald needs to really think about what players give him the best chance of winning, and if that means sitting Williams out for more plays and letting Stone run with the starters more, then so be it. Hey guys, if you've made it this far into the video and you're enjoying it, please give it a like and subscribe for more. Really helps me and the channel out. Now, for the Titans players that I want you to watch, we're going to start off with the obvious one being Derrick Henry. So far this season, Henry has run the ball 86 times for 328 yards and 2 touchdowns. That means he's averaging just over 17 rushes per game and 65.6 yards per game, which for Henry seems low. But against the Bengals only 2 games ago, he went for 22 attempts, 122 yards, and a touchdown. And until his production falls off a cliff or he retires, I will never count out Henry for having a big game or a long touchdown that breaks a game open. The next Titan that we're going to take a look at is DeAndre Hopkins. Another obvious choice, I know. But we as Ravens fans have not seen a serious threat at the wide receiver position since Jamar Chase in Week 2, and even then, Burrow wasn't at 100%, so that impacted Chase's effectiveness. That being said, we didn't have our full complement of defensive backs or safeties, and we still held Chase to 5 of 8 for 31 yards and no touchdowns. So far this year, Hopkins hasn't lit the world on fire, going 26 for 42 for 356 yards and no touchdowns, but last week against the Colts, he did show that he still has it in him, catching 8 of 11 for 140 yards. He also has already converted 19 first downs, so his ability to move the chains will still pose a major threat to this defense, especially on third downs. Danico Autry for the Titans' defensive line is causing significant disruption and providing a large amount of this team's interior pressure on opposing quarterbacks in the first 5 weeks of the season. So far this year, he leads the team with 9 QB hits, 4 sacks, and 3 tackles for loss. Oh, and he also has a forced fumble, so the Ravens really need to keep this guy from getting inside as much as possible with our ball security issues so far this year. Last player I want and expect you all to keep an eye on is Ryan Tannehill, because so far this season, he has seemingly been 2 different quarterbacks through the first 5 games. Check these stats out. Game 1, rough start to the season. He went 16 of 34 for 198 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions in a loss to the Saints, 15-16. Game 2, 20 for 24, 246 yards, a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, no interceptions. They beat the Chargers in overtime, 27-24. Game 3 was bad Tannehill again, 13 of 25, 104 yards, no touchdown, no interception. They lost to the Browns 3-27. Next week up, Game 4, 18 of 25, 240 yards, 1 touchdown with 1 interception, and they beat the Bengals 27-3. And then this previous week, Week 5, 23 of 34 for 264 yards, no touchdown, 1 interception in a loss to the Colts 16-23. So yeah, he's kind of all over the place this year, and who knows what Tannehill we're going to get this week. We defensively have outperformed the Browns, who beat them badly, but we also lost to the Colts by failing offensively and by a similar score. With passer ratings of 28, 123, 62, 98, and 78 in order, he seems to be finding a balance towards the end of that, but that balance seems to be around the same mark as his most recent rating, and that's a 77 overall average on the season. But with scores of 28 and 123, which is probably the largest swing in the league right now, but I haven't checked that, there's no telling how Tannehill will play. Now, let's get into my keys of victory for this week's matchup. Key number 1, protect the dang ball. That goes for everyone. Lamar, running backs, wide receivers, and offensive line by extension, by protecting Lamar. I am sick of the fumbles. I am sick of the lack of ball security. And honestly, as someone who has been a stout defender of John Harbaugh's, this whole oh yeah, if they fumble, they're going in the doghouse. Where's that mentality? Put some of these guys in the doghouse every once in a while. I mean, they obviously put Kenyon Drake, they put him out to pastures, but I know Justice Hill's great. He is. But the second that ball came out, give it back to Gus and let him run it. Speaking of which, that leads into our second key to victory, which is if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? So, if we're running the ball really well, keep running it. If we're passing well, keep passing. Just like in basketball, you go with the hot hand. If Gus is running well, they don't seem to be able to stop him, or certain plays are working, keep running those plays until they can figure out a way to stop it. If Andrew seems to be open often, take what the defense is giving you and don't make it more difficult than it is. You're trying to outplay yourself. You're trying to get cute. And so far, I don't think we have the offensive chemistry to really be pushing that type of idea. All right, so number 3, finish plays in the backfield. Too many times I see a running back or a quarterback that's been able to evade our pass rushers because they're going by them either too fast or because they aren't wrapping up at the tackle. I'm not saying it's easy, and watching Garrett and Watt make it look like it is. But if we're going to do all the hard work of getting through the line and getting back there, we got to finish more of these plays off. That's how we get the defense off the field, and we need to do that more often. Last key to the game, stay aggressive even with a lead. I don't want to see us taking our foot off the gas. Why should we? Too many times I've felt the whole idea of saving plays in the playbook has gone too far with this team. I can respect not showing all your cards in the preseason or early games, but we're on the brink of being 500, and this team is too talented to be playing soft or conservative late in a game. I mean this for both offense and defense. If we're fighting to stay above 500, then forget the whole, oh, we got to save these plays for the playoffs. If you ain't making the playoffs, then it doesn't matter. Why save plays if you're not even going to be able to use them in the playoffs? All right, last thoughts. This offense isn't hot yet. I know it doesn't sound like an epic epiphany that you've been expecting, but don't forget how few reps some of these guys have had together and are still building chemistry. Now, am I using this as an excuse for last week's drops? No, not at all. If a ball hits you in the hands, you need to hang on to it. End of story. I know some of those catches were difficult. Some of the throws were even more difficult, right? So what I am saying, though, is that OBJ isn't back to full strength. Bateman didn't hardly have any preseason, and he's missed time with the hamstring tightness. And Aguilar, who I know a lot of Ravens fans were underwhelmed at the signing of, he's been a very effective and reliable number 3 receiver in this offense behind Mark and Zay. My point is that if Todd Monken can get most, if not all, of these extremely talented players to work as effectively as we have all seen them do individually, but as a cohesive unit that's peaking at the right time, I still believe that this team can be something truly special. And that isn't just blind hope. We have seen some beautiful offensive plays and drives, smart, effective play calling, shutdown defense, and great special teams in these first 5 games. We just need them to pull it all together at the right time, and this team will be a juggernaut by January. But, what are your guys' thoughts on the upcoming game in London? Give me your score predictions down in the comments, and if you haven't already, like I said earlier, give the video a like, as it really helps the channel grow and lets me know that you enjoy this content. Subscribe if you're new, and let's hope the Ravens trip across the pond brings us a renewed sense of energy for this team. All right, have a good one, guys. Bye.